Welcome to the EBC podcast, More Than Fitness. With a combined 50 years worth of experience and knowledge in the industry, we're going to have an open discussion on everything fitness and more. Hosted by myself, Wes, an EBC director, James Sweeney, a sports scientist and EBC director, Glyn Roberts, a former Royal Marine and EBC director, and Will Young, our online coach specialist and EBC instructor. Welcome back, guys, and in this episode we're going to take a little deep dive into the fitness industry and some of the changes that these guys have seen in the last 20 years, some of the changes Will's seen in the last 5 years. And what I think is going to be really good is that we've all got a different perspective on the industry. And yes, I'm going to kick it off nice and easy. Let's go straight in. Will. And I'm not going to ask you that question straight off the bat.
No one knows what we've been talking about before the camera started rolling.
100%, I'm not going to go straight off the bat. But obviously you are the newest person into the industry, sitting around this table. Let's get from your perspective, and then kind of we'll take it out from there. And as the conversation, like with every episode, we'll let the conversation flow. And I've got a few points to come back to that I think will keep us on track. But otherwise, it is very much an open mic, open conversation, and let's just have some fun with it. So, Will, 5 years in the industry now, yes?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What's the biggest thing that bothers you about the indry at the moment?
Biggest thing that I would say initially bothers me is, I think there's a statistic, first of all, that it's like 70-80% of personal trainers don't make it past 6 months, something like that. And I think the reason for that is, obviously, when you do your PT course initially, it's just a piece of paper, right? I remember copying and pasting mine off someone else, actually. I didn't learn anything.
Well, mine was an open book.
Exactly. It's just a case of copying and pasting. You can find everything on the internet, and as long as you just sit an exam at the end of it, you're pretty much good to go. And then when you get pushed into a gym environment, there's no space to learn. You have to have some sort of mentor there or someone that you can learn from. Otherwise, you're never going to get.
Interestingly, that's interesting. So when you finished your qualification, did you feel like you could go and train someone off of what you learned?
Absolutely not. I remember you have to do. You have to do like a one-to-one session, which you'll get assessed on as well.
Yeah.
But for me, it was like 20 minutes, and I remember looking back on that session now, and it was absolutely shocking. Like, I would never run a session like that one-to-one in a gym anyway. But that got passed through with like flying colours as well. I remember getting like top marks on that exam, and that was one of the big problems with it. But yeah, I mean, experience-wise, unless you've got some sort of mentor there, for me, especially coming into EBC, that was my ability to learn, and we discussed that in a previous podcast, how that helped me develop and become a trainer, a proper trainer. But yeah, if you go into a gym and you're trying to work for yourself, then you're not going to learn a lot.
But this is the big problem with the fitness industry, though, isn't it? Because anybody can go and do this course, and I think the problem is people from the outside look at sorry, I'll digress here. I got into the fitness industry because I wanted to help people. I enjoyed it. Right? I don't think people get into the fitness industry for the right reasons. Because they look at numbers and might see 30, 40, 50, 60, £100 an hour and think, okay, now I'm going to make a fortune here. That's not quite the case, is it? Do you know what I mean? So anybody can go and do that course. Anybody can pass that course. And then before you know it, and then because of social media, everyone's plastering up all this information on social media. It's like, now I can teach you how to lose weight and this, that and the other. You've got no fucking experience whatsoever. So because one of the ways I always explain it is what I always say to people, like, all the shit I've been through in my life at 42 years old, right? And I go and get an online coach, and we're moving to why I hate the term coach, right? Is how's that 22-year-old? This is not a disrespect on you, because I've got respect for you. No, but bear with me. How's a 22-year-old going to life coach me through my life?
Valid point.
No, I think that's
change my mind on that. How are they going to do it? Because they've gone and done an open book test, right, which anybody can fucking pass. And now they're going to call themselves a coach. Right, brilliant. I've got 3 kids and a family and a busy life, and I'm fucking stressed out to my eyeballs, and I'm messaging you, I can't train, just stay motivated. Fucking brilliant. That's really helped me out.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's a bit of a problem as well, because there is a lot of online coaches, and a lot of them don't actually have qualifications now. Because there's nothing to show for it, you don't have to prove it. When you're in a gym, when I initially signed up and I wanted to PT an absolute, you have to give your qualification and show that you're a qualified personal trainer, or you're not covered insurance-wise. But when you're an online coach, no one looks at that.
Go back to what you started out on, right? Because we've covered a lot of ground there. I think like one of the biggest issues I feel is that people qualify, and basically you pay your money, you qualify. Whether you take, the test 3 times, 4 times, or 5 times, you pay your money. Everybody passes. That's problem number one. Mm-hmm. Like, there needs to be some sort of level in there to give an idea of actually what's going on, and if someone's capable. You could really hurt someone. If you're doing the wrong things with the wrong person, or you're it's a myriad. You can open up loads of problems. Second problem is as well, like even at the very, very start, there's no differentiation between someone that's really, really good at the start, that does really well on the test and the practical, versus someone that's just scraped through it. And that's no disrespect. Some people take tests and whatever and apply it differently, but there's no levels in there.
No, and that's
huge.
That's also
huge
where
issue.
Social media plays a massive problem, because loads of personal trainers will get themselves into half decent shape because they've probably paid a coach to be able to starve themselves or taking loads of fucking gear and put loads of fucking pictures up about how they look shredded and like, come and do my online program. What, just because of your fucking selfie? That doesn't mean that you're a really, really decent trainer, coach, or you should be trusted by other people. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, so that there's a massive can of worms in this industry now. And
sure.
You go on about how me and Jim have been doing this like almost 17 years combined, 40 years or whatever.
Isn't it?
When we started, Instagram wasn't a thing. Instagram was just a platform for you to put photos, like a photo album on, which I thought was fine. But now it's just riddled with people teaching you how to do shit incorrectly. Yeah. Or, if you want to lose weight, you have to go keto, you have to do this, you have to do that. That's all bollocks.
You have to, as well, like you have to be very careful about where you buy your advice from.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, there are so many, like the stuff that we're talking about there. Again, we've covered so much ground in nutrition. There's so many, different aspects to the fitness industry. If you want to go resistance based, or you want to go conditioning based, or you've got someone that's more sports like specialist or whatever, the fitness industry is massive, and there are people that will specialise in set areas that you could go to for advice. And I think the online thing's that's going to come up a lot, right? But it's absolutely huge. You get in what's been very prevalent in the last 5 years, as Glyn's saying there. You'll get a coach that's extremely prevalent because of, number one, they've got a big social media following and they're in good shape. Does that necessarily mean that they know what they're talking about and they're giving sound advice? No, is the answer. I'm sure there are instances where there are.
It just
you've got to look at that though and go, well, what are they? It comes down to what they're in it for as well as the online trader. So looking from a different perspective, for them it's a numbers game, isn't it?
100%.
So how many numbers can I flood in each month to keep living this?
But you lose the passion.
Yeah, 100%.
You lose the passion, and that's so it's a bit like when people go and do sell fucking shit shakes and Herbalife and all that kind of stuff. I'm sorry, this is going to offend some people, but I don't really care. You're only doing that because you want to make money. If you care about people's health, you won't be forcing them to take shakes as a meal replacement.
Absolutely.
It's as simple as that. And social media allows people to force that opinion onto you. And the most successful, I'll take that back, not the most successful, but people seem to be doing really well in the fitness industry if they've got a big following on social media. If you're really social media savvy and you're shit hot at doing stories all the time and posts every fucking day and all that kind of stuff, which is really time consuming, and I'll take my hat off to people that are really
some people are really good at it.
Yeah. I keep trying to do it and I'm like, fucking, I haven't got the headspace.
We get smashing for like 4 or 5 days consistently, and then you're like, I need a break.
Consistency's the key in anything,
yeah.
Right? And I try it, and I hate doing it because it's not the first thing I think about. But if you're really social media savvy, you're probably going to do all right in the fitness industry, because that seems to be the thing that everyone. Or like, it's like a boot camp. You see someone squatting, right? And how many times our boot camp now, you see clients, they squat. When they get to the top, they do this thing, and I won't stand up and demonstrate, when they go and squeeze their glutes forward, because a load of women on social media are showing this butt squeeze at the top of the squat, and I'm like, that's mad, because you're killing your lower spine. Your the gravity is going up and down, not forward and back. But because so-and-so with a really good bum is doing this booty squeeze, everyone does it now. It fucking drives me mental.
That seems to be something that's very, very kind of popular in a minute. You've got a lot of girls going into gyms and training their glutes for an hour and a half. It seems to be like just something that's fashionable. Yes. But listen, we've gone way off course, right? We've gone way off course.
We're all
But listen, but like, so 20 years plus, you see a lot come through, and there are definite fads. Like when we first started, like the Swiss ball was a classic for this. So someone invented a big ball. It's a big ball, for Christ's sake, and stuck it in the gym. It's like, yes, a Swiss ball. It's going to be the answer to everything. That's the way it kind of seems to go. And people doing chest press
trend, isn't
it? And it just, yes, it was a good tool. It wasn't the answer to everything, but it's very faddy, the fitness industry, I find you notice trends of it, and that can be a problem, I think.
So here's a question. I know we've discussed this like time before over lunches or whatever. But do you think people, I mean, this is a generic question, it might be a difficult question to answer, right? But do you think a lot of youngsters are going to the gym for the right reason?
I'll happily go first on that.
I want to hear your thoughts now. I have my opinion on it, and I'll give you a why. And I know you've already heard the answer before, but why do you think yours? Why?
Well, for me, the gym's a place to get healthier, happier, fitter, and stronger, right? And most, especially younger kids these days. And I'm going to quickly dive into TikTok here. There's a lot of 18, 19-year-old influencers on TikTok who are now jumping on the bandwagon of steroids and things like that. And everyone knows they're on it, and they've got these 16, 17-year-old lads who are just starting out their fitness journey, just going into the gym, and they think it's acceptable to be doing that because they're seeing it. But then they're also just training the wrong way. They're just trying to get as big as possible, but for what?
Likes.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's what my argument.
There's a caveat. There's a caveat to this, right? If we go back to when we started, there were I think less than 2% of the working population in the UK exercising, right? There's been some uplift in that. It's nearly 20% now,
which is a good thing.
Which is good.
No
So we're not bashing social media, but I think what we are saying is because yes, it's going to basically attract more people into the fitness industry with an array of different reasons to train. Not everybody wants to train outside. Not everybody wants to run it 3-4 times a week. Depends what your goal is. But at the end of the day, like, social media is positive in lots of ways, but there's a dark side to it. And I think, some of the issues that are popping up are based around, you got people influencing, and giving advice that they shouldn't be giving, at the end of the day. And I think that's the crux of the issue.
Dangerous.
That's
where it's dangerous.
That comes down to a regulation, from a regulation point of view. And when we started, it was, do you remember reps?
Yeah.
So when we started in the fitness industry, you had to be on reps, and it was quite well regulated. It isn't anymore.
No.
It's like the Wild West, the fitness industry. You can go and do what you like. We've had people over the years, wake up overnight and want to be, I'm a mindset coach now. It's like, are you?
That's what I was saying earlier.
Where's that come from? What qualifications have you got? What kudos have you got?
Yeah.
How are you trained to give someone advice or impartial advice on how they live their life? What have you done? I'm not bashing, I'm all for it. If you know what you're talking about and you're qualified.
It's a positive thing. It's a positive thing that there are, that youngsters are going to the gym. I'm not saying that's not a positive thing, because going on what you said, but you should be going to the gym to get fitter, stronger, mentally and physically.
Yeah.
Right. But the way I see it is just from being observed is most people are going to the gym, and Jim joked earlier about women doing glute workouts 5 times a week.
Why? It's popular, isn't it?
Why?
Yeah.
Well, that's not having any effect on you to run around or be fitter and stronger. It's purely because you want to twist your ass at the right angle and get a picture.
And that's popular.
It's true, isn't it?
That's popular.
You're doing it for likes. You're not doing it for your own
100%.
internal good.
And I mean,
I'm not saying that's for everybody. Sorry, mate.
I'm gonna get in. We're getting on him.
I'm not saying it's everybody's doing that, and I'm not. And there's nothing wrong with having strong glutes, good deadlift, good squat.
Absolutely
fine. But I think a lot of youngsters are getting into it, and they're not looking at the bigger picture of why they're training.
Yeah.
They're doing it purely to take pictures on social media and to get as many likes they can, because they get a massive endorphin kick from the amount of likes they get.
Not the workout, not what the benefit of that.
That shouldn't be the number one
how many
goal.
people have liked that photo?
That's where I see it, and I think the big problem is later down the line. Because if they don't get enough likes, or they get injured and they can't, they're going to.
Have you seen?
It's going to mentally fuck them up.
So, Wes, I know you've got something to say, but this is really topical at the moment. There's a guy called, he's massive he's an American guy called Cali Muscle.
Yeah.
Have you seen him? Yeah. So he's huge on social media. I just happened to watch something yesterday and I liked it, but he recently has had a heart attack, and he's basically saying, I spent all this time because I didn't know any better, building muscle, eating loads of sodium rich foods and giving impartial advice. I didn't know that I shouldn't have to do cardio, because it was the health benefits of doing cardio sort of flush your arteries and your veins out and your cardiac system, all the rest of it. It gives a really honest account of what the way he's been training and the lifestyle he's been living and what happened to him. And it's just really quite refreshing, to be honest, to hear that, because we've always been very much, in answer to the question, we've gone way off topic there.
He's
just covered loads.
I'm ready to go.
I'm ready to go. But listen, we very much have always been on the mantra of it's health and well-being, both physical and mental.
Yeah.
And if you get that straight, get yourself a little bit fitter, a little bit healthier, everything rolls off
It's
the
a
back of that.
byproduct. Your physique's a byproduct.
Absolutely.
You'll look all right. You'll feel a lot better. You feel self-esteem wise. You'll feel better. That's our kind of mantra.
Let him talk.
And that's my mission.
Anyway, Will.
I actually had something to say there.
Mate, listen, but my issue is that we've got it the wrong way around at the moment. For the way things are in the industry, it's all about aesthetics.
Yeah.
You know, and and it's crazy. Mental health, mental well-being is an afterthought.
I
Afterthought.
will discuss what I think on the aesthetic side from my personal perspective.
So just like on what you were saying about like what the long game with that will be. So I've seen it. So obviously working in schools, we're around kids from the ages of 5 all the way up to 18. And I remember one session, it always sticks out to me because it blew my mind that this was a thought process of a child. And it was a 9-year-old child who come to our session. He showed me a photo and he went, I want to look like that. And it was just a guy, absolutely ripped, six-pack, the whole lot. And I was like, what would that mean to you to look like that? And he went, well, he looks really good. And I was like, okay, that looks good. And what else? And he went, well, look, he's got 2,000 likes. He didn't care. He did not care about anything other than being accepted by that photo, and it blew my mind that was a child's thought at 9 years old.
But think about what we're
they
saying.
don't know any different.
But
we all know this as parents. They don't know any different. They've been brought up with it.
Think about what we're saying there. You're farming out your mental well-being and how you feel about things for likes.
Yeah.
You're absolutely farming out your happiness.
And what he doesn't realise that's going to have a detriment.
100%.
Because if you take you look at the aesthetics, right? So I did the whole standing on stage thing twice, and even and I was 35 when I did that, and I can tell you something from a personal experience, and there's really going to be people watching this going, oh no, that's not for me. This is just we can only ever talk from personal experiences, right? Yeah. My personal experience was when I come off stage, and I sit pretty lean most of the time, don't I? My body fat's pretty lean. I'm genetically lucky. I know that. I get that.
Fruit.
I'm a genetic freak.
You are a genetic
Chiseled
freak.
God. However, it's a joke. Right, point is, when I come off stage and I got down to 3% body fat, right, when I gained body fat after that, I had a fucking meltdown.
Hang on a minute, you couldn't think straight. So the day you did the
fucking horrendous.
So the day you did the actual what do they call it, the show, or whatever. You couldn't. No. You weren't. Your brain weren't working.
No. Your body fat. You test regulate testosterone and everything, isn't it? So
it was like, I think it's glucose thing, isn't it?
I felt awful. I felt absolutely horrendous. But I get that. But you could say that about any kind of like competition you're going to go in for. You get fatigue and all this kind of stuff and brain fog. I get that. But the point is you stand on stage, you spend weeks and weeks cutting down. You get to this point where you're going, fucking hell. Like, I remember waking up one day once I'd water loaded and dried out and everything. I had striations in my triceps, just the fucking muscle fibres everywhere. I was like, fucking hell, look at me. I'm like jacked and I'm shredded, like amazing. And then after a few days after the show, when you put it back on again, because you start to eat slightly normal, I remember having a meltdown.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh God, I'm fat,
I remember that.
What the fuck?
You put a stone on, didn't you, in a day?
I put a stone on in 24 hours. 24 hours of stone.
Yeah.
What the fuck? I'm just like, what have I done?
But half that's water.
It's water.
Half of it's water.
But I restricted myself, and then for months after that, because I've been following a strict diet plan, which was too strict for me anyway, a very strict training routine that had been written out for me because I paid a coach to do it. And bearing in mind what I do for a living, right, and I'm pretty fucking savvy with this shit, I swear to God, I woke up the next day and I was like, what do I eat today? I don't know what to train today. Because I'd been a sheep. I'd been a sheep for 12 weeks, 15 weeks. Eat that, do this, eat that, do that, yeah. And I know what I'm doing. I woke up the next, I swear to God, I remember it like just I woke up and I was like, what's for breakfast? I don't know.
What would you say the negative effects are of getting that lean and trying to, so obviously it's not sustainable.
Where'd you go from 3% body fat? It's like you can't. What you gonna go 2%?
There's no way of it.
Do you know what I mean? Why?
Sorry, ask the question again.
What were the negative effects that you would have felt
outside
of the gym?
Apart from the fact well, it's hard because for me, I come from a very physical background, so everything that I did was based on my physical performance. Do you know what I mean? And that to me was a big part of the mental side of it. Do you know what I mean? Like the harder you work and the harder I push myself, the better results I'm going to get. You're being judged on stage because someone doesn't like the shape of your fucking arms and all that. It belittles.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. I remember standing on stage and some bloke was like, to the right next to me. He's like, well, I don't like your arms, move over there. And I'm stood there going, fuck, this is embarrassing.
Didn't you get put?
I felt belittled.
Didn't you get put down as well for? If you correct me if I'm wrong as well, by the way. But like someone said to you that the way your abs were set,
which is slightly wonky six pack,
which is genetic. By so there's nothing you can do.
I've got like a 5.5 six pack.
There's nowhere to go, and you got marked down on that.
But it was belittling. I just went, and I chomped off at him. I went, you can't fucking talk to me like that. Because it's embarrassing, and then you step off stage and you think, I've put all this work in, and the blokes that all won the competition all had, guess what, the biggest social media followers. Yeah. You wait till 6:30 to stand on stage to get fucking completely mugged off, and I felt like absolute shit. And then I woke up the next day and I thought I'd look like a bag of shit now because I put a bit of weight on. And for weeks after that, I felt terrible. I was very unfit because the only cardio I could do was manage to walk on a treadmill. I felt like shit. Bearing in mind, I'm someone that runs distances and does this, that, and the other. I felt awful in every aspect. Mentally,
I remember
broke
that.
me.
I remember talking to you after that, and you sounded about a week after absolutely lethargic and fed up.
Do you think that you needed to do that though at that point to then give you maybe the tools to then fully have a full understanding of the industry?
Yeah. Again, it's a life lesson, isn't it? Yeah. And I'm in a weird way, I'm pleased I've done it because I now have this experience that I can now share with other people.
Yeah.
I'd say mostly negative.
Yeah.
I didn't enjoy any of it at all. None of it actually.
Personal preferences. I
follow people on social media that absolutely live for it. They don't care whether they yo-yo up and down. They love it. Do you know what? Fucking fair play. And I always say, whatever you enjoy, you're going to stick to it.
Yeah.
I mean, some people love running a marathon every fucking day. Good luck to you. Do you know what I mean? But I just think there's a lot of negatives that come out from it, and I think it can mess your head up. You can get body dysmorphia.
Yeah, 100%. That's literally what I was about to say. I feel like from that point,
aren't you?
Yeah. How long does it take you to adjust back and realise that isn't a normal, sustainable physique? Because when you take a step back from that, I know me personally, when I did my photo shoot, that was the leanest I'd ever been. And it probably took me a good year to actually realise, hold on a minute, that's not something I need to be all year round. This is actually it's
unrealistic, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's unrealistic.
But it gets in your head again with body dysmorphia.
I don't think that's spoken about though. The reality of what actually your expectations are. I don't think that gets spoken about. So like sitting at 3-4 body percent is not sustainable.
And you're not like that all year.
How do you then psychologically complete yourself, or
because you're always comparing yourself to that position that you
prepare yourself to where do I sit then?
Yeah. Body dysmorphia as well is essentially it's almost like an eating disorder, isn't it? In itself, it's guys that are 20 stone and that are stacked.
You become obsessed with counting how many almonds you eat.
And they look basically.
I'm not
you looked through my soul when you said that.
No, but I'm not joking you because I remember. I swear to God, I remember being. Me and my missus were living at my in-laws at the time, and I swear to God, right, they were sitting at the dinner table, and she'll probably remember this. Everyone was eating spaghetti bolognese, right? And how tasty spaghetti bolognese, like you can. And I'm sitting there eating a fucking piece of chicken out of a Tupperware pot at the dinner table, and they're going to me, "Do you want to try something?" And when I get my head into something, I'm pretty strict. I was like, "No, I'm not tasting that." And I'm just looking at it, going, I'm just mentally breaking. I'm just like, all I want to do is a taste sauce. Yeah. And I'm eating fucking plain chicken. This is dry, and I'm a foodie, and I'm like, this is.
Why would you think so? Why would you do that to yourself? For what? To look a certain way.
To have been mugged off on stage, but then like you swanky six pack.
But the advice we give to people, the advice we give to people is it's a long term thing. If you're going to make a change, if you can't stick at it, if
you can't see yourself doing it in a year from now, don't do it.
You're struggling.
Whether that's keto, high carb, low carb, because again we're going to digress now, but that's an individual thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? Whatever you can stick to in a year from now, that's going to work for you. But a restrict diet and standing on stage purely for that aesthetics of 5 minutes is just bonkers.
There's a guy called Ross Edgley that sums it up. We've seen him, haven't we? We went to see what couple of his excellent. He sums it up in a quote, and I think it's all really well rounded. He's saying, make your body an instrument, not an ornament. Mm-hmm. And as Glyn's saying, there are a lot of people that are good sportsmen and whatever. The 2012, going back a little bit, the Olympics was there was an advert. I really remember it really well. And it had all different body shapes, shot putters, sprinters, and you see the array of different body shapes because they're doing different jobs. and specifically different jobs, they're not worried about what they look like. They're worried about getting an end result, playing a sport.
That's what I like the term.
And that's a healthy way of looking.
I quite like the term that's floating around at the moment, the hybrid athlete.
Yeah.
And the reason I like that is because we've had this conversation before. I do believe that you should be able to tick a few boxes. Because as humans, we should be able to run. We should be able to move around body
100%.
weight. We should be fundamentally the foundations of our body. It's good to be strong, to lift heavy stuff. You should be able to tick a few boxes. I'm not saying you should be an ultra-marathon runner. You can be able to swim the channel and fucking do the Tour de France and deadlift 250 kilos. But my point is, you should be able to don't be a one-trick pony.
It needs to be functional. I had this discussion with a lot of my clients. As you know, a lot of them will come to me and want to grow a bigger set of glutes. But it comes down, I always have a discussion, a consultation call. And it's not for me to discuss their goals and tell them what their goals are. They obviously speak to me about that. But what I do is just put an idea in their mind is, can you run a mile? Can you do a pull-up? Can you do a push-up? Can you swim? Can you do deadlift your body weight? Can you squat your body weight? And if they can't do any of that, I'm like, that's what you should be working towards. If you cover all of that, you're going to look good. And if you look good, then you're going to have more confidence. And that's your whole kind of all-round.
That's what it all comes down to.
One, exactly that.
It's how you feel.
Confidence gets overlooked, but
that's how you feel, isn't it?
Yeah. But if you take CrossFitters, right, and I know they get a lot of shit, right, but what's their most important function of training? Performance. But what do they all look like?
Yeah, they look decent.
Fucking chiseled gods, right? Most of them, not all of them, but if you look at the top guys, right, level, but they look good because their physique's a byproduct of their output.
Yeah.
That's all it is. Do you know what I mean? Rich Froning, for example, doesn't go around like counting the fucking how many almonds he's eaten, right? He's nailing food down his neck because he wants to perform. And guess what? He looks like a chiseled god.
These guys see food as fuel.
Yeah.
It's literally fuel. I remember looking at some rowers like years ago, and some of the guys, I think it was for one of the boat races, it was over probably 15 years ago, they're eating like 6,000 calories a day as fuel to get the training done, because that's how intense their training is. You know, so like, I mean, that opens up, the nutrition side of it opens up a whole nother kind of...
Well, you go back to Ross Edgley, mate, when he did that swim around the UK, you ever watched the videos?
Oh, that was awesome.
He was eating fucking cheesecakes. And people think to look lean, you can't touch that kind of shit. Yeah. No one's saying you should be eating crap all the time, but he was burning so much. Do you think you're going to get that out of chicken and rice? Fucking bore off.
It was awesome. So basically, we went to see his chat about that, which was fascinating. And some of it, he was trying to prove that he could maintain muscle by doing an endurance event, because most people associate an endurance event with a really lean runner or a really lean guy on a bike, and he was like, I'm gonna break that kind of stigma, and he did, because he basically worked out exactly, I think it was somewhere in the region of 15, it might have been 14 or 15,000 calories a day that he had to eat to sustain his body weight. Right, so he's a science guy, so he worked out, what does my body need daily? I'm swimming for 9 hours a day. When I'm not swimming, I'm either eating or sleeping. Yeah. And he worked out specifically what he needed.
He was massive when he did that swim, wasn't he?
Awesome.
He did one as well when I was down training in the Marines. Is when he came down and did a 24-hour swim.
That's right.
That's it. Down there, and we got to meet him and speak to him down there. And he's such a good guy for what he can do performance-wise, endurance-wise. He's
excellent.
Kind of it breaks it.
He does it in a very scientific manner, doesn't it? Like when he did that. He did the rope climb one. He climbed the rope at the height of Everest. And I don't know if you ever read his book. What's his first book come out? It took him 10 years to write it.
I don't know, but it's really good. I can't remember.
It's a brilliant book to read.
We'll get a link for that.
Shout out to Roger.
He's awesome.
No, but he did this rope climb. So when he climbed the rope, he's like, for example, like he was talking about his biceps. He said when you DOMS comes from the extension of the arm, as an example. If you just use bicep as an example. So he was bicep curling, and his brother would take the weight, and he'd bicep curl it up, take the weight, curl it up. Because climbing is about the contraction of the muscle, not the extension, right? But he said if he kept doing that like a normal bicep, he'd get such DOMs like that, he'd fuck his arms up. So he'd train to curl, his brother would take the weight, curl. He'd only be doing the up move of the curl.
The concentric, isn't it?
The concentric move, for the climbing. And that's how he developed his arms to be very clever.
That is so
fucking smart. But he's brilliant. But I think he pretty much coined the term hybrid athlete. Yeah. And so he's done like run a marathon with a log on his back and all sorts of stuff. But the point is, he does it whilst looking big, muscular, and he ticks all these boxes, which you can do.
Yeah. And also, he's grounded. Everything he's done is grounded in research and science.
He's a humble
Well,
bloke.
that's something we talk about a lot, don't we? Is what's the science say?
Yeah.
We don't just guess. We spend a lot of time working out what does the science say.
Yeah, we'll go on to the nutrition stuff. Obviously, there's another chat on that.
Yeah.
But every piece of advice we give in, it's science backed.
Yeah.
We're not giving any faddy. We've never done that.
No.
And I think that's one of the reasons we're actually still around, because we can't afford to do that.
There's also a lot of experience as well as that as well. So a lot of the stuff we kind of been there, done that, tried it.
Yeah, you experienced it as well.
That's what we were saying earlier, life experience.
Absolutely. And I think that's like in one of the first episodes that we spoke about, is one of the reasons why people tend to come back is because actually they did get the best results fitness wise with us, and that's because your experience. And I say we actually do research. It's not like we just pluck stuff out of thin air and just go, that'll be really good.
Yeah, but we also want people to find what works for them.
Yeah. And
Do you know what I mean? And everyone's different.
Yeah, for sure. So that kind of brings me to a nice little point. If you had the power to change one thing in the industry, what are we changing?
Social media.
Right, but I'll go first because I'll get mine out so you lot don't jump me again because I keep getting jumped out. Mine would be the restriction on probably ages that get to have access to social media and videos and photos. So I think there needs to be an age cap. It needs to be regulated a bit better because I do think kids get access to way too many images that they do not need to see.
Oh,
God, that's loaded.
that's a lot.
That's loaded.
Fucking hell. Yeah,
That's a loaded.
We'll go into
It's a whole new
mindset.
podcast.
I could do a
that is-
whole thing on.
Yeah.
You've been sitting there thinking about that
mindset about this whole time. Will, what would you want to change?
Mine would be social media, but more specifically, if I didn't have any PT qualifications or PT experience, that if I wanted to, tomorrow I could wake up, create an account, call myself an online coach, and give out advice that I don't know what I'm talking about. If I didn't, well, obviously I do. So that would be mine specifically.
Fine.
So qualifications needed, and it needs to be regulated on social media. You can't just call yourself something and
Stop
put it
calling
out.
yourself
that's
coaches.
that's massive.
Stop.
That's massive.
Apprentices.
Well, no, like the reason I don't like the term coach, and I don't know. Let me start again. I don't dislike it, but I think you have to have a level of life experience before you start calling yourself a coach. Because for years, I wouldn't ever call myself a coach, right? Because what's the difference between an instructor, a trainer, and a coach? A coach to me is someone that sort of coaches you through every aspect of your training and your lifestyle, like everything.
Yeah.
They don't just give you a program and go follow that. That's not a coach.
100%.
Do you know what I mean?
No.
And the problem is, I know we're going way back to what we've already spoken about, but people call themselves a coach because, again, it sounds cool on social media probably. Yeah. But are you able to coach someone, a 42-year-old stressed out bloke, through every aspect in their life?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I think
You need the
that
knowledge,
comes down to having the experience and doing that. Like for me, I don't have clients like that. That's not the niche that I go towards because I don't have kids. I don't have that experience. But what I do have experience in is training people my age because I've gone through that myself, which is why I feel like I'm able to help that particular niche.
100%.
But
Which
yeah,
is why I
if
said to you. Which is why I said to you when we were talking about it once, and I said I always feel like my niche would be 40-year-old plus.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because I'm 42 years old. I can relate to kids with people with stressed out dads with kids. I used to train 2 or 3 hours a day. I don't anymore. An hour at the most because I don't have the fucking time.
I know.
So you can relate to that. Do you know what I mean? So you can relate to certain people you deal with. Like, yeah, you're coaching people that you relate to.
Yeah.
Don't coach someone like twice your age, 3 times your age. I just think it's crazy.
I used to train with a sprint group many years ago over in Braintree somewhere, and there was a middle distance coach that I used to train with, right? And he was overweight, and he used to stand there and just bang off cigarettes, like chain cigarettes.
Yeah, I remember.
He had a big red face, right?
Yeah.
He had a big red face, and he was a coach. Right, so you guys saying, as you're talking about this and saying like, age specific, I'm thinking, well, he was a coach, and as a kid, sort of 14. Obviously, you remember him as well, right? I remember him, and I remember thinking to myself, hang on a minute, we're doing reps here, and he had a reputation for being tough.
He
like,
was
tough coach,
fucking brutal.
right?
Wasn't
So he'd smash us, like we'd do reps of like 200 meters, 300 meters, and build up to 400 meters, and come back down again with a set interval in between. We'd get smashed. I'm thinking to myself, you can't do this. There's no way you would do one rep of this. But he had the experience, and allegedly he was a pretty good coach. He was a good coach, But also, I think when he was younger, I think he was quite a good athlete. So point I'm trying to make quite badly is that we need to be a little bit careful about, someone's experience is key here on giving advice. Just because necessarily we're falling into the trap of you need to look a certain way to give advice. I picked that as a kid.
You don't have to.
But I think that's where the fitness industry is, and it needs to change because that's not really, a lot of people are going to judge their coach by, well, he's in shape.
Aesthetics.
He's in shape. He must know what he's talking about. So I'm going to go and train with him.
Yeah,
and I think that's a big problem.
Another big problem as well is coaches giving out training programs the way that coach trains as opposed to how their clients should be training. 100%. And this is another thing why I think PTs or online coaches need to have experience on the gym floor before they become a coach.
Here's one for you, Will. So online coaches, right? Do all of them have specific
niches?
No, specific programs. If you've got a client that's got specific needs, have you got 4 or 5 programs that go out to? It's just kind of best fit.
Are you asking me if
no, just generally. You've taken a lot of advice through.
Yeah, I mean, from what I was kind of taught on mentorships and whatnot, if you are niching down to something very specific, then, for example, if I was just training girls that want to grow their glutes, then I'd have a load of glute-based programs that I design, and then you can tailor it out individually to those specific clients depending on what equipment they have in their gym, what kind of experience of training they've got, that kind of thing. And that is the kind of way that I run it. Over time, I've built up I would say 100 to 150 programs that I have. And when someone starts with me, depending on what their goals are, I just sort of think, right, what program do I have for you? Yes, that's the exact one, and I'll just adjust it to fit them exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Kind of need it. But yeah, I can't really speak on any other coaches because I don't really know what anyone else does. But I would imagine some of them are pretty lazy and just dish out one program to everyone.
I can factual.
I'd
absolutely guarantee.
I've heard of times as well, coaches that will people are paying like £200, £250 a month, and they're taking like 3 days to reply to them, or they'll be a week late to a check-in, or they'll just miss a check-in and not respond. And that's something that I get a lot, and it's annoying being a coach that people know and champs with as well. People come up to you and they'll be like, oh, my coach hasn't responded to me in a week. Do you do that with your clients? And I'm like, I can't speak on anyone else because it's not my business. I don't know what people do. But the way that I run things, is I'll have a set program that specific person would do well on that program, and then I'll just adjust it to exactly how they would.
Yeah, but you're it's because you take it quite personally. Do you know what I mean? As I don't. This is what I go back to what we said at the beginning. People get into. Why'd you get into it? Do you know what I mean? Like even with me, I don't really do it. I write programs for my one-to-one clients, but I'm not an online coach like Will is. But even with my clients, I'll still text them. I'll still ring them.
Yeah.
How you doing? What's going on? How's that injury? How's this going? Whatever it might be. It's that personal touch with them. And that's one of the things. It's like, I know I did a video on my social media a little while ago with my client Saoirse, and loads of people were talking about it because I fist bumped her. She PB'd a squat, I think it was, or deadlift or something. And the point I was trying to make is if you do it, and you'll probably understand this as well, and it's interesting to see your perspective is on this. If I was to write that program for her and she PB'd me and text me, I've just hit my PB, what am I going to send back? Well done, really proud of you, thumbs up.
Yeah.
However, because I see her every single week and I've watched that journey, the feeling of watching her achieve that goal,
absolutely.
Like, I was fucking
elated. You're invested with her.
Massive cuddle.
Yeah, you're invested in it.
You're invested with it. It becomes a little bit less personal when you're online. And I'm not saying that everyone online isn't like that, and I know Will's very personal with things like that, but I'm sure there are a lot of coaches out there who are like, you paid me, fucking cheers, have that and go away, leave me alone. And I think that's quite sad, because you're like, that's not why you get into it. Ask yourself, why are you getting into the fitness industry? What are you trying to achieve out of it? If it's pound signs, fuck off and go work somewhere else. Leave it to the people that actually give a shit about why we're in this industry, because it's exactly why we started EBC.
Yeah. But it's the people that focus on the money, they never get anywhere with it. That's always one of the first things I was told. If you're just focusing on how many people you can get through the business, you're never going to get anywhere with it. Which is why I was always taught as well, just to turn down clients that aren't the right fit. Because if I'm not going to get results out of them, there's no point taking the money off them. If I can't help them specifically, I'll just pass them on to someone who I think would be a better fit.
Yeah. I want to say something quite controversial now. So like the other day, I'm late to the technology party on lots of things, but chat GPT. Okay. So you can kind of whip on there now, and say, design me a program. I want to run under whatever. I want to run under 20 minutes on a 5K. Or whatever. Give me a program, and that program will basically go through the internet up to a certain date. I think it's 2021. all the information that's available to it, it will basically describe your program, put a program together, and every time that you ask it, it's different, and it's quite factual against the information it's got available to it. So essentially, some of the information on the internet might not be accurate, but that's the way that's the
cheaper than paying a trainer to do it, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's the way this is going to go, right?
Yeah. My internship actually did a whole podcast on
I think it's really interesting
where it's going to go with the fitness industry, but my opinion on it is there's no human touch there. There's no
accountability. That's what I was trying. That's what brought me onto it.
Say that. What's the difference? And you're gonna this. I don't want to know your opinion on it.
Yeah, of course.
What's the difference between asking that question to ChatGPT or having an online coach? Because they're both online and they're not personal.
There's lots of different ways of looking at it. I think the bit that you've just said about actually caring about your client, nothing's ever going to replace that one-to-one. Nothing's ever going to replace that, in my opinion. I don't think. But like some of the programming side of it, that's only going to get stronger and stronger. And I think, that side of the technology coupled with, our time face-to-face time, it's going to be a benefit. I don't think it's ever going to, completely turn away from face-to-face stuff. I mean, that's always going to have its place.
People had an opinion that online coaching is going to make one-to-one PT and become
definitely
never
not.
be a thing.
No,
people will always require someone in the gym one-to-one.
Yeah, and also, let's get it right. You could have the most Gucci program that's literally set for you that will get you where you want to be, and the $1 million is you've got to actually get your ass up and do it 5 times a week.
Do you know how to do that program? Do you know what the exercises
exactly?
are?
But even before you've even done that, you've got to actually do what you've been told to do.
Yeah.
How many?
It's like the old Davina McCall CDs.
You've got to do it.
20 minutes into it, fuck that, turn it off.
Sitting in there on the sofa
but
drinking
when we're sitting next to it, it's like, do it more, do it again, do it better, do it deeper, do it this, do it again, do it not quick enough.
So I think a lot of people know what they've got to do, but actually making them do it, and they've coined it a strategy of adherence. What keeps someone going back? Yeah. That's the bit we need to be looking at. That's the piece we need to be looking at as fitness professionals.
There's also a lot of people out there that are not doing it because their whole goal is to have a certain shaped arse or a six-pack at the end of a 6-week, 12, whatever it might be. Like, I'm very fortunate from my personal perspective. Most of my clients I've had for 6, 7, 8, up to 15 years, and I'm still training now, because them it's a lifestyle. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Then their end goal is not to look
a certain way.
Their goal is purely part of their life. And as much as they probably don't like to admit it, they enjoy it.
Yeah.
Like one of my clients is going away
when it's done.
I went, you're going to miss me. She went, I'll miss you, but not the training. Do you know what I mean? But in a way, that's also a compliment because she enjoys being around me. I don't know why, but
retrospective enjoyment it is.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? But at the end of the day, exercise should be part of your life. It shouldn't be the first thing you cut off. It shouldn't be a chore. It should be part of your life.
Yeah. That's tough. That's a tough journey though, from someone that's starting out. To travel that ground and get to that point where it's like, well, this is what you do 5 days a week, or part of your lifestyle. That's where we should be. I think as fitness professionals, we should be looking at it thinking, how are we going to make it lifestyle?
Yeah.
And that's the question we've got to start to answer: is how we keep people going back.
I think we do that quite well within the brand. I think we do that because we build that community.
Yeah, but we always say that to people, don't we? Like, it's about adherence and consistency and all that, and discipline.
And it's also that they know that if a session's on, a session's on.
Yeah.
I remember being
accountable to them as much as they're accountable to us.
Yeah.
I remember being at a gym, working at a gym early days, like when I first started in the fitness industry. And I remember being in a team meeting one morning, and the general manager, basically at the time, basically stated that there's about 3,000 members in this club, basically, and in a nutshell, he basically said, well, we don't want them all here at the same time, don't we? Because we've only got 20 treadmills. And I'm thinking to myself, what?
They don't though.
What?
Gyms don't.
Yeah, but I didn't
fit them in.
But I couldn't. But like then you start thinking about it, well, of course they can't have them all here at the same time. So we've got big gym, but it's 20 treadmills. It's 20 cross trainers. They can't all be here. There's 3,000 members. So that whole model is basically set up so that only like 5% of the membership base train on a regular basis, and that blew my mind because I just thought to myself, surely people pay their membership, you want them in, and you want to get them results, but that's not the crack.
Virgin Accident Championship, they've got about 5,000 members, and I think I worked there when I was 16. I was a lifeguard, and back then over 50% of the membership base hadn't been to the gym in 6 months.
It's crazy.
So it was like 40-something%
that's-
of
that-
people
That's all,
only use the gym.
mate. So going back from when I first started, that's always been the case with gyms. That's always
That's
been
the model.
case.
But that's the model they set up, isn't
Yeah.
it?
That's the model, and that
Yeah,
that
but that isn't the case for us. That's not the case. We want
We
people
want
to come.
people
The
to
bigger
get
the
it.
group, the better.
That
The
blew-
more atmosphere.
that blew my mind.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, surely we need to do something where we're actually getting people to where they need to be. Go back to those stats, those really boring stats I mentioned earlier. 15, 20 years ago, it was less than 2% of the working population were exercising. Now it's about 20%, I think. So there's still 80% of the working population that don't exercise on a regular basis. And I think it's about the stat that gives 2.6.
And this is the statistic that 70% of people going to the gym don't work hard enough to get results.
Yeah, so
I mean,
we should be after those people.
it's mad, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
I get offended when people don't now come to a session. I said that to my Wickham guys last week. I was like, tennis was like, what have I done?
Yeah.
I've upset you guys.
I know.
'Cause it bothers me.
You just want people to
It
train.
really bothers me when
Because
people
the
go,
thing is, you want people to train because it changes that. We said this in the first one. It's about their mindset. You
Yeah.
want to see people's mindset change
For sure.
more over anything else. You know.
And it does as well, actually. One of my members last week was speaking to her, Karina, and she also goes to F45, which I'm not a huge fan of, some of the things that they run. And she was in a competition the other day, and she was sort of head on head with someone that does quite a high level of CrossFit. And the difference was that she broke way before Karina did, and she puts it all down to boot camp of having the mindset, and she was confused why this person had stopped when they got a little bit tired, a little bit out of breath, and she could just continue and keep on going forwards. And she said that that's what boot camp's given to her without even realising it's given her
the ability to just keep going.
just not quitting.
That's interesting actually, because do you remember this? I don't remember this story. Do you remember one of our very original one of 5 members years ago, Angie? Do you remember when she went in that cycle race?
yeah,
So basically, I had this member years ago, and
she was an animal to be fair.
She was very fit. She had this incredible lactic threshold in her legs. Like, you know, when you make them squat hold or lunge hold, and you're like, pulse, yeah, good, you're going to get a burn. You're going to drop, and she's like still going. You're like,
She could chuck a kettlebell back, couldn't she? As well? Glyn used to call her Manji.
yeah.
She was an animal.
She was a beast, but she
was an animal.
signed up to this cycle race, and it was a proper cycle race across Europe. Correct me if I'm wrong, and I get the story wrong here. But she said she hadn't ridden a bike since she was a kid, right?
Yeah.
So she borrowed a bike or something like that, and went and did this cycle, and she won this event. And like, the pro riders are like, who the fuck are you? Like, you haven't ridden a bike since you was a kid, and you've just smashed us across Europe. And she said, she'd come back to me and said it was because of boot camp, the amount of fucking lactic threshold training we do and the endurance she had in her legs allowed her to fucking hammer these cyclists.
She'd nicked a Rayleigh racer as well, so she'd done it on like a Rayleigh.
Yeah, true. I can't remember what member it was now. I was just trying to think in my head there, but they ran a marathon without training. And the most training they'd done within that was less than 5k. I think it was like 4k. They'd done a 4k run. Turned up and done a marathon.
It's not really advisable to be
fair. We don't recommend
it.
Turned up and done a marathon in sub 4 hours, and just because mentally they were there and physically.
Yeah.
How many times have we said this? Like, I think boot camp's a lot of things, but it gives you a really good platform, fitness platform in terms of functional fitness.
Hybrid athlete.
Hybrid athlete.
Appointed.
That's
How
what
many
it is.
birthdays do I have?
5.
I own one.
5. You
Someone
two are on
that's
10
a
each.
talent.
You pointed again, actually.
When did I point?
I'll talk about that.
But no, it does. It makes you a hybrid athlete.
Yeah.
That's the whole point, isn't it? Run, lift, push, pull, carry, all that kind of stuff. That's important. So I think that's, if anybody takes anything away from this conversation we've had today, is have a look at your training, wouldn't you say? And like what you said about your clients, can you run a mile? What if you break down in the middle of nowhere? You're going to be fucked if you need to go petrol half a mile down the road.
Can you carry the petrol back?
The training needs to
We'll do more jerry can runs now.
But it's true though, isn't it? Like, I think you just have to have this general ability to be able to do quite a few things. It doesn't mean you have to go out and run 10, 15k every single weekend or anything like that, or build up to 2.5 times your body weight at a deadlift. But have a look at your training and think, am I going to the gym and wasting an hour of my time twice a week bicep curling?
There's
What the fuck's that going to
there's
do?
a big.
That's all it comes down to. Really.
There's a darker side to this as well, because we're staring, I think, down the barrel really over the next 10 to 15 years. Yeah, the NHS is struggling, obviously. You know, one of the precursors of heart disease, loads of other issues is obesity. You know, and literally, you know, the advice we're advocating and what we deliver in Essex around, you know, physical, you know, wellness and health and fitness, and that should be a message that we're looking at across the country, really, because there's a massive issue coming. We're on the precipice of a massive issue here. And not alone, to set aside as well from the physical side of it, the mental well-being as well, which is a massive issue and something that we're going to talk about on another podcast. Like those two things, and I feel like as a fitness intervention, what we do copes with both of those quite adequately. In different ways, and they're going to be in the future. They're going to be huge issues, because if you're overweight, you're not healthy, your body's not efficient. Well, guess what? You're opened up to loads of different ailments, and the projection of that over the next 10 years is massive in the UK alone. So what we're saying is really poignant. Really poignant, without a shadow of a doubt. And I think like that message, what we've spoken about there around how important being fit and healthy for you, not necessarily based on anybody else. Again, you've both said loads of times, pull and push your own body weight, be able to run a decent kilometre, a mile, as if your life depended on it. That's sound advice. That's...
It should be like a life skill. Like, you want your kids to do what? Ride a bike, be able to swim?
Yeah.
Not because you want them to be the next Tour de France winner or swim the channel, but it's a simple life skill. And as adults, we get fucking lazy. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, because we can drive everywhere, life's too lazy. But so you should be able to run a mile, a kilometre. I mean, come on, a kilometre is going to take, what's it going to take you, worst case scenario? 7-8 minutes, if you're really slow. Do you know what I mean? But you should be able to have at least that lung capacity, that ability to do that. I think people really need to have a look at themselves and ask that question. Do you know what I mean? And if you're going to the gym, question yourself how hard you're working. Because I always say, if you're going there doing chest workout and bench press, whatever, work out within that hour you're in the gym how long you're actually working for. How long does it take to do 10 reps on a bench press? 30 seconds, 45. Yeah. Time under tension should be 45 seconds?
Yeah.
Right, and then you're going to rest a minute, 90 seconds for lactic recovery in 2 minutes. Then you do that again a few times. How long are you actually working out for? 10 minutes?
There's also,
fucking hell.
There's also,
go on,
mate. There's also education about like what we're putting into ourselves in terms of fuel. You don't need to be in a gym. You could do body weight exercises, for Christ's sake, like press ups, sit ups, press ups, a core exercise, and squats. Do 100 of those a day, and walk and be active. There's loads of ways of getting this done. There's more than one way to the top of a mountain, isn't there? But like, I think some of the advice that we're giving at the bottom of this, like, needs to change, because like, it's just broken. It's a broken model.
What was you going to say?
Out of my head now, no idea.
So basically what we're saying is people need to come down to a session, let's do a baseline, see where people are at, and then we can help them.
Yeah. Oh, get your ass down. But how many times have you had people turn up over the years and go, I go to the gym, I do this, I do that. 10 minutes into the session, they're being lapped by a 50-year-old housewife. Yeah. No disrespect to 50-year-old housewives, but we've got some very fucking 50-year-old housewives.
Exactly, it's the same bit of advice.
And then you get a 20-year-old bloke that's like, it's not for me. I'm like, why? Because you got lapped by like Tracy over there that's like 10 times fitter than you. You're embarrassed.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Have a look at your training.
Yeah, 100%.
Do you know what I mean?
Same thing I said to Trialists yesterday. I was like, do not base yourself off of the people here, because if you do, you're going to be disheartened.
Yes, 100%.
And it's not even me being an arsehole.
No, but
it's me telling you that these guys are trained for 15 years specifically like this, and you're training in the gym.
It's not even specifically like this. The fact they do a multitude of things. If you look at some of our really fit members, right, they do a bit of everything. They do hit the gym a couple of times a week. They come to us 3 times a week. They do a couple of long runs every single week. They're all-rounded. That's why I like that term hybrid athlete. They're all-rounders.
It's very varied, isn't it?
It is, which is the way it should be. Where you get the gym head comes down to us, and you might be able to press a kettlebell above his head 3 or 4 times. But when he gets to 20 reps, and I go run around that tree up that hill 10 times, he's fucking gone, isn't he?
Yeah.
It does get harder as you get older, though. I think, like you know.
That's another podcast. He can't be in this one.
You don't really have to. It does get tougher. It gets tougher. Oh yeah.
Old now. Behave yourself.
For 2 weeks.
Yeah.
25. He still ain't come back to one of my sessions, though, is he?
I'm still recovering after our leg session.
But again, I think that's something, again, when I trained with you and when new members turn up, it shouldn't be something that puts you off seeing people like that. It should, to be honest, just be a bit of a wake-up call that this is how I should be. If I can't run a mile, I should be able to.
Yeah.
If I can't,
it's to humble you.
Yeah, exactly.
When we trained, and this
I got humbled, yeah, I said it straight away. And
you did, didn't you? No, really, you like, fucking, that's humbling me.
Completely different to the way I was training, but now I've looked at that and I've changed it around because I went through this exactly the same thought process of I need to be able to get back and be fitter, healthier, happier and stronger, not just be absolutely fucking massive sort of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it humbled me, but in a good way.
Yeah. But that also, I think that shows your character, because you're happy to, like, you don't feel you're not training with someone at 42 years old, we're going and getting the ump about it. You can sit there and go, fair one, I need to fucking have a look at myself a little bit, shouldn't I? Yeah. Do you know, if I went and trained with a 60-year-old, he fucking hammered me, I'd be like, what's he doing? I'm not.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
You're willing to learn.
You don't allow your ego to get in the way.
No.
Why does it matter? Like, why does it matter that I don't know, my age can now deadlift a 20-year-old? That's irrelevant. Do you know what I mean? Like, just have a look at yourself.
You're training at the end of the day as well. If you're just doing strength all the time and you're literally just training strength in lots of different ways, you know, you're going to lack on the cardio front, aren't you? Yeah. That's probably what you do. You put in some.
Oh no, it was a case of doing multiple things back to back without.
So it's like a conditioning as well.
It was a lot.
At the end of the day, the way I look at it is I like to lift heavy, and I like to do a lot of conditioning. I like to do a lot of body weight, and I like to do cardio. But I try and piece it all. I usually start with heavy stuff because that's the most fatigue in your central nervous system, and then the loads get lighter, and then the intensity gets higher. That's how I kind of look at it. But that way, I've covered most bases, and then once a week, I'll do a 10 to 15k run at the weekend. So I'm trying to cover all. I'm not trying to be like a super athlete. I just, in my own personal headspace, I'm very competitive. But for my own mental well-being, I've always been like it.
Yeah.
I just feel like I need to be able to tick a lot of these boxes, and it makes me feel. Again, we come back to this like self-confidence. It makes me feel more confident knowing that for my age, and I don't mind saying that, for my age, that I can perform at a half decent level. I can still run. I can still outlift quite a decent weight on a lot of guys younger than me. Why is that? And there's nothing wrong with that making me feel better about myself.
Yeah, for sure.
You know?
What was it that you said that was like, it might have been David Goggins that said it, but you repeated it to me. And it's something about if you were to do a leg session, right, that you'd be absolutely wiped out for like 3 to 4 days. But if you split everything, you can repeat things 5 days a week at 80% of your max.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so he used a pull-ups as an example. And he said if you go to the gym and you do a set of pull-ups, say 3 sets of whatever, and you do absolute fucking max out pull-ups, as an example, right? You're probably going to get DOMs the next day, and then, as we all know, 48 hours later is worse. Yeah. So then you're not going to be training back for what? You're not going to do pull-ups for what? 3 or 4 days?
3 or 4 days.
But he said if you go in there and you do, say, 60, 70% of effort, you won't get DOMs, and you can do it again and again and again. So your actual load within that week period is probably 3 times more than doing it once a week. And that's how I look at it. So now, I know this is an age thing, because when you can't recover when you get older, I don't hit failure. And very, very rarely, unless I'm really fucking feeling it, I don't hit failure. Why? Because I won't be able to move the next day. And I want to be able to move and do as much as I can. So I think that's important.
Yeah.
You know? But that's probably an age thing as well, because you just can't recover like you are when you're whippers.
I was going to say, I'll train legs back up tomorrow, I'm fine.
Not anymore. Not anymore.
That's another problem as well, though, is people thinking that you need DOMs the next day.
You have to have DOMs
to feel like you've had a workout.
Depends what you try. Depends what you're training
DOMs
for.
just comes from doing something different.
What's the purpose of your training?
If you do a different movement and use a muscle group that you might not have used before, then you're going to get DOMs the next day. But it doesn't necessarily mean you've worked any harder than you have previous.
No, it's funny actually, because still the amount of people go, I ate, I must have worked.
I go to boot camp all the time.
Not really.
I remember last week saying, but I didn't really eat that much. I don't think I worked hard enough. That's not how it works.
Yeah, it don't work.
That's not how it works.
Yeah, and then you went, right, get in the estuary.
Wait the best on.
Yeah.
I think we'll wrap that one there. I mean, I think you guys could talk for a lot longer if we kept going. But guys, please like, subscribe, and follow this channel, because we are trying to give as much back to the community as possible. Loads of knowledge between the 4 of us, and keep your eyes peeled for any events that are coming up.